what are you expecting from this football team in free agency? Are you expecting a big signing? Could it be a bunch of little signings? Are they happy with kind of where their roster's at? What do you think Andrew Berry's going to do in this free agency period?
I think they head into it every year acting like they're not going to make a huge splash, and then they make a pretty big splash in free agency and trades. And I think it's smart. I mean, why not? If you have the money to do it and you can go out and you can find a receiver so that you don't have to rely on that number 54 pick in the second round to find your hopes and dreams at number two wideout, why not go ahead and do that? Why not try to sign a Calvin Ridley or trade for someone or sign a Gabe Davis or even a Mike Evans? I mean, that is probably the most unrealistic one in the bunch, but there are guys available. And I really do believe that they need to add one or two more formidable weapons to this offense. And I have to think that when Kevin Stefanski and Ken Dorsey meet next week in Los Angeles with Deshaun Watson, I think he's going to seriously make a pitch for at least one more Pro Bowl caliber receiver. Now, we have already heard him talk about T. Higgins, who was franchised by the Bengals. You can still acquire him in a trade, probably a lot more unrealistic now that he would land here on the Cleveland Browns doorstep. But I do think that they will look to sign a receiver. Maybe not the most expensive receiver in free agency, but someone who can come in here and catch 6 or 7 touchdown passes for you. Gabe Davis from the Buffalo Bills, he fits that profile. So does a Calvin Ridley. There are others in that category that I think that can do that. But they will also, once again, look to the trade market. That is how they acquired Amari Cooper. That is also how they acquired Elijah Moore. And some of Andrew Berry's best moves, as we know, have come via trade. So I think you can look to some of the other teams that might have a receiver that they're willing to part with to find one of those guys.
I feel like some of these numbers we might see when free agency starts, they might just absolutely balloon. It's like when Christian Kirk got paid a ton of money a few years ago. And I like him. I think he's a good receiver, but he made way more than he should have made. But that's what the open market does. So that's why I keep coming back to this idea of, can you trade for a guy who maybe he would be expensive, but it's not going to cost you as much as having to go out and pay, you know, a Calvin Ridley, maybe more than you should pay a Calvin Ridley, and kind of put yourself in an uncomfortable spot there. There's somebody out there is going to become available in a trade. It happens every year.